Hi, my darlings. I'm Sophie Darling, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're reacting to episode 2 of series 2 of Vinland Saga. Last episode, we got reintroduced to Thorfinn. Thorfinn is now a slave on a farm and looks less angry, but very sort of apathetic and dejected. I'm hoping that spark will be reignited in him, that potentially he will find a way to escape and get out, especially now that he's been introduced to someone who is very similar to him. Einar's family were killed in a tragic way. Einar wants revenge. Einar wants to be free. He's been sold as a slave onto this land, so not that different to Thorfinn. I feel like him and Thorfinn are going to be able to relate quite strongly to one another, and that perhaps this friendship is what sparks their great escape for freedom. But I can't really speak about much as to where I think this is going to go this series, because I kind of did that in series 1 and also episode 1 of series 2. So I don't want to kind of ramble and rehash the same points, because until we know more, until we see more, there's not really much I can say. Of course, we will have a lot to say possibly in the outro, depending on how much information the episode gives us, because sometimes Vinland has really, really deep philosophical lessons, and then in some episodes it is purely action. So there's not really much you can discuss if it's just action. But if there's some philosophical aspects, then we'll be able to discuss it further. I'm not going to ramble though. Without further ado, we're going to get into episode 2.
Hey, Naru, THORFINN. 今日からお前たちは友人だ。
I mean, just like that, okay.
さあ、挨拶しろ。
Doesn't allow them to choose your friends.
協力するんだぞ。
どうも。
Oh, Thorfinn.
仕事について説明しよう。Hey, Naru, ここが何に見える？
Forest. Opportunity to grow food. I don't
ここ
know.
はな、
Yeah.
未来の小麦畑だ。
Opportunity.
この森
Expansion.
はわしの所有物だ。これをお前たち二人に貸してやろう。この
The
土
man
地
is
を買い
wealthy.
込み、運用し収穫を上げろ。わしが正しい値段で買い上げる。その金額がお前たちの値段を上回ったら、自分で自分を買い取れ。
That sounds almost like it's too good to be true. They're not really slaves then. It's more like indentured servitude.
お前たちの頑張り次第では、3年以内にそうなることもあり得るぞ。
Wild Theory. Was he potentially a slave that bought his freedom somehow? Because he seems very empathetic and understanding, and also is willing to allow them this opportunity. Most people that bring in slaves are looking for them as like endless sources of labor that they don't really need to pay, they don't really need to respect. They are just bodies to be used. They're not really people, they're just machines, they're weapons, they're not human. Whereas he sees them as actual people. He seems to genuinely care. Again, very presumptive. Could be jumping the gun. He could be an asshole. He could be deceptive. I don't know. There's just something very peculiar in the way that he's like, I want you to be friends. You're going to work this land and earn your freedom the right way. I'm going to allow you to sell the wheat to me, and once that price exceeds what I paid for you, you're free. Unless like the price is so extortionately high and he's going to like undercut them with how much he gives them and it's not a fair price, they could buy their freedom. He's saying it could be done within 3 years. So part of me wonders if perhaps he empathizes because he was in a similar situation. Another part of me is like, please don't be an asshole and actually give them this false hope so that they work hard and they toil and they sacrifice only for you to undercut them and they never really get their freedom. Sometimes a way of keeping people in servitude is giving them the illusion of potential freedom. It makes them work hard, it makes them persevere, it makes them try to grasp a better life for themselves, but it's always just out of reach. But then they convince themselves, if I just work a little bit harder, if I just try a little bit more, I can get it next time. And then again, it's still just outside of their reach. It's almost like this perpetual cycle. They make them depend upon the benefactors that are giving them the money, but the benefactors never give them enough to earn their freedom. It's always just slightly out of reach. So then they continue to work harder, but then they get a little bit less next time. And then the cycle continues. It keeps going so that they never actually earn their freedom, but they work hard for it nonetheless. So the only person that benefits is the person in power. I've been reading Red Rising lately, so I don't know if that kind of is infringing my thought process because the entire book theme is about high society and how society manipulates those underneath as a cog in the machine so that they benefit whilst keeping these people enslaved to their wants and their desires. So I don't know if that's maybe like influencing my perspective, especially from knowing the actual history as well of indentured servitude, especially in Ireland. I don't know. My perspective might be a little bit tainted. He might be a good guy. Could be that he had a similar background. Could be that I'm picking up on themes that I'm reading in other books that may actually be relevant here. We'll see as we go. But Red Rising Saga, I know it's not relevant. Very good series. Highly recommend, especially if you like sort of dystopian sci-fi fantasy. I devoured the first book and I'm on the second book. I'm on a tangent, but I just wonder if the themes of that book is maybe tainting my perspective a little bit. I want him to be nice.
不服か？
He doesn't seem disingenuous.
私も同じ方法で自由身分になった。慣れない土地で大変だろうが、頑張りなさい。
Okay, so he did this and he was able to free himself and then continue to work here because it was better than wherever else he could go.
オルフィン、エイナルによくしてやるんだぞ。いいな。
はい。
It's so weird seeing him so obedient and not snarky and snapping back. Like, is this really my boy THORFINN? Is this really him?
ちょっと待てよ。
But after everything he's gone through, I'm really not
あな
shocked.
たどういう人なんだ。俺の故郷にも奴隷はいたけど、奴隷はずっと奴隷のままだった。
I mean, I would have thought it would have been the same here as well, but evidently not.
アイスランド。
He's so close to home.
アイスランドか。どこ？
I've never heard of it.
もうかなり切ってるじゃないか。あとどれくらいなんだ。
こっち側全部だ。
こっち側？
He's growing a little beard.
そこに川があるだろ
He's not a boy anymore. He's becoming a man.
川からこっち側。まだ結構。
Yeah, it seems almost an impossible task. How long's THORFINN been doing this for, is the question. It's like, you're not doing it
う。
right.
見学してろって言われただろ
He wants to
早
help.
いとこ自由になりたいからな。腹減ったな。なあ、ここの昼飯はどうなってんだ。
あるよ。いや、そろそろ奉公人が持ってくる。
Oh,
本当かよ。至れり尽くせりだな。
it's very well organized and ran, isn't it?
うわ、知らんかったな。じゃあ今夜あたり行ってみるか。ああ、行け行け。行って振られてこい。そりゃないっすよ。
どうも私は。
ああ、知ってる。聞いてるよ。
That's so rude for no reason.
何ですか？
They were eating their food though.
お前らの。
There's not going to be enough.
じゃあ今夜
Does the master know? I don't think the master knows that they're not being fed properly.
なんだ文句あんのかおい。なあお前、奴隷勤めは初めてか。
ああ、まあ。
なら覚えとけよ。食えるだけマシなお前らに自由民の俺たちがわざわざ弁当を届けてやったんだ。
Oh, wow. So there's a hierarchy formed. Believe themselves superior. So then they take it out and exert power over those they view as lesser. Because they have a taste of power and authority, they have to exert that over others. They have to exert that over those that they view as lesser. It's how systems of power often formulate and function in that those that are abused sometimes go on to abuse others because they get this taste of power and therefore they want to exact what happened to them onto others instead of benefiting society as a whole and helping these people thrive. They want to punish them like they were punished. Hurt people. But it's really infuriating to watch how they're basically saying, oh, us free men, we came out here to feed you. Look how benevolent and kind we are. As if they should be grateful for them eating their food. That's not how the food left, meaning I don't think the master knows that this is happening. I think he thinks he's feeding them fairly and he's giving them the strength that they need in order to perform the task he set them. And these men are taking advantage of that and are sating themselves, sating their own greed by eating their food as a way to show that they are above them. They are superior to the slaves because they need to have a way of distinguishing themselves. It's just so incredibly disgusting. They get the slightest little bit of power, little bit of authority, and they're instantly weaponizing it to demean and demoralize others. It's absolutely abhorrent behavior.
いただきます。どうもありがとうございます。
Thorfinn, what the fuck? This isn't you. It's so weird seeing him so like
トルフィン、そいつに礼儀を教えとけよ。
apathetic, so willing to accept this
怪我させんじゃねえぞ。
awful behavior.
はい。
His temper's gone for sure. But it's really
昼寝してやがる。
demoralizing to see
なんだよあいつら。
that spark in
サボりに
him's
来たんじゃねえか。
gone. Of course, like, it's not a bad thing that Thorfinn's temper's moderated, that he's learned to sort of restrain himself and hold himself back. But that fire, that drive, that's also gone with it. And that's what I mean. I don't want brash, angry Thorfinn, but the spark and that desire to be something more, something better, that idealization of a better life, of exploration and adventure, that has gone too. He's so dejected and worn and apathetic, and it's just really, really heartbreaking to see and to watch because I'm just like, this isn't Thorfinn. This isn't who we've come to know and love. This is a shell of a man. This is the aftermath of everything he's been through and seen, and the loss of another father figure through Askeladd dying, and no doubt them being sold into slavery, and whatever he's suffered and seen has resulted in this husk of a person. I want to see that spark reignited. I hope we see that spark reignited.
エイナル、後ろから押してくれ。
It's almost
俺は前に
hard to believe that this is the same person that said he would never be a slave, that he would never
川岸まで
willingly
運んだら
obey.
イカダにする。
普通奴隷に馬を扱わせたりしないだろ。しかもこんなしけた馬一頭きりで。
いいか
Oh,
ら行くぞ。
oh, the poor horse.
エイナル、前を持ち上げてくれ。
わかった。
Jesus Christ, how did they expect two people and an old horse to do all this? But I love that Thorfinn is helping the horse so that the horse doesn't bear this weight all by itself. But still, how are they supposed to clear the woods? They don't have enough manpower. This feels an impossible task. And they're not being given enough food.
奉公人ってあれだろう。自分の畑がないから旦那の使用人やるしかねえ連中だろう。なんだよ。そんなもんお前半分奴隷みたいなもんじゃねえか。俺らをいじめて自分たちより下がいるってことを。
That's exactly what I said. They want to feel morally superior. They want to be better. So they take it out on those they view as lesser in order to feel better about themselves and their own position. Thorfinn.
どうでもいいことあるかよ。奉公人なんかがこぎ使っていいわけがねえ。旦那に言いつけてやる。
やめとけ。嫌がらせがひどくなるだけだ。
お前な、そんなんでいいのかよ。
Oh, my boy. It breaks my heart to see him like this.
どうだいなる。一日過ごしてみた感想は。
Shit, they ate his
報
food.
告が
やめろ。
黙ってろ。今日こちらの方向にこう。
Oh, he's smitten. I take it that's his daughter that Ina's fallen in love with. This must be the girl that they're all trying to get with that keeps rejecting them. He's not gonna say anything
お
now.
かしなやつだ。何もないならわしは行くぞ。
Fuck's sake. He's too blinded.
報告はいいのか？
He got distracted. Look at the little blush on his face. Oh, bless.
はあ、今日は暑いな。
お水だよ
お、
泉から汲んできたばかりだよ冷たいよ
こっちに一杯送れ。
あ、急速だ
Oh, Jesus.
深い方の泉まで行ったんだよ
I love that even he's taking part and getting involved.
ありがとうな。
He could just oversee it, but he's actually doing the manual labor himself.
さあみんな、もう一踏ん張りだ。
大金持ちは働かないもんだと思ってたよ。
I feel like there's more to him than meets the
働い
eye.
ている姿はデン人もイングランド人も変わりないのにな。
Because you're all human.
何度も言わせるな、オールマル。
んだよ。言われた通りやってんじゃねえか。枯れりゃいいんだろ、枯れりゃよ。
な、バカモン。麦の後は放牧だ。だいたいお前は17にもなってまだ仕事の段取りが分かっとらん。
Is this his son?
だから一つ一つの作業の意味が理解できんのだ。
せーな、分かってん
Oh
段
dear.
取り完璧っすよ。
You don't seem to respect it though.
わかりましたよ。
うわ、バカモン。なんだその振り方は。麦の方が壊れるだろうが。
He's being
や
willful.
ってらんねえ。たまにおとなしく手伝ってやりゃ細けえことをぐ
It's
ちぐ
not
ちよ。
stupid. He's trying to get you to learn and listen. How are you expected to take over this land if you don't even know how to run it?
お前はじきにこの農場を継ぐんだぞ。もう少し自覚を持て。
大の男がちまちまちまちまちまちまちまちま。
Oh, he's so headstrong, isn't he? What a spoiled, pampered brat. He can't even lift it.
ねえ、何やってるの
何かな。
He can't even wield it properly. Can't do farm work, can't wield the sword. What can you do?
剣で成り上がってやんだよ。
Oh, okay.
またんかこら。
Petulant child.
こんなど田舎で一生終わってたまるかよ。クルート王帝殿下の軍団に加わってバシバシ手柄を上げてやるぜ。
Oh, Prince Canute, not King? Interesting. The buff's like, fuck you.
来てもう一回
Oh, you filthy pervert.
若娘、その調子だ。
Oh, and that's your daughter.
若様にお食事持って
He wants his daughters to get pregnant, doesn't he? Because then she gets pregnant, he has to marry her. It elevates their status and they can sink their claws into the farm. It's the fact he's listening. That's so gross. His daughter. I thought he was a pervert at first, but still. Ugh.
てめえらの魂胆は分かってんだよ。貧乏小作人ども。親父の財産が目当てなんだろうが。
And they're using their daughters to get to it.
女ってやつはどいつもこいつも。
ああ、若様、私どもは
Well, you've just devalued your own daughter.
俺は俺だ。親父のおまけじゃねえ。なあ、くそ、居心地悪いぜ。
I do feel for him. He wants to be his own person. He wants to be independent, and everyone associates him with his father and the farm and the expectations and the pressure. He just wants to be his own man. I get it. He's also 17.
そっち行きますね。しっかり歩けよったかも。
おい、麦が。
でもあいつらと揉めるとまた兄貴に怒られちゃうからさ。若はいいよな。この農場の中じゃなんでも自由だもんな。
うるせえな。てめえらに俺の気持ちが分かってたまるかよ。
怒っちゃやー。
He was worried about the wheat, so he does care what his father thinks. He does care about the farm.
おい、馬の口取るんじゃねえよ。
いいからいいから飲み直そうね。飲み直
He
そう。
just told you not to lead his horse.
若様、セッションの悩み聞こうじゃないの。
Clearly, you don't want to go home that much if you're just allowing them to lead you.
戦争を知らねえんだ。戦士がかっこいいもんだと思い込んでんだろ。戦争するやつはみんなけだものだ。
I love the juxtaposition of the light again. Like, I keep pausing. I swear to God, I'm so sorry. But the juxtaposition of the lighting is similar to series 1, where we saw Leif in the light and Thorfinn in the dark. Again, we're seeing Thorfinn in the dark. He is not quite able to make it through to the light. He's lost hope. He's lost ambition. He's lost the way forward. Whereas Aina hasn't. Aina still has ambition, dreams, still longs to overcome and be free. Whereas Thorfinn is very dejected and accepting of the situation he's found himself in. He's lost. He's in the dark. Whereas Aina's in the light because he has direction. He has a source of light to pursue and follow, unlike Thorfinn. It's just very beautifully portrayed. They keep using the symbolism of light, and I find it so telling and beautiful every time.
イングランド王の軍勢に村中の家を
He lost his dad then, didn't he, the first raid?
親父は戦ったけど
Yeah.
殺されちまった。
Second time he lost his mom and his sister.
ただ見てるしかなかった。
Thorfinn can relate. He lost his dad too.
次に来たのがデーン人の軍勢だ。イングランド王の悪性から救ってやるとか抜かして略奪の限りを尽くしていきやがった。
They were just as brutal. But Thorfinn would have pillaged too.
あいつらは人の皮を
He would have been seen as a beast wearing human skin not that long ago by Aina, and yet here they both are in the same position, no different from one another. Oh, the music is so good. The first landing in England, the raid that he saw, sort of what awoken his eyes to the violence and war that he sees around him. He was just a boy and Aina was just a boy. Two boys thrust into similar situations on different sides. Neither boy asked for this, but both boys had to do what it took to survive. Both boys have paid the price of war and battle and the power dynamics between rival kingdoms. Neither boy wanted this. Both boys suffered as a result. Poor babies. Honestly, I am curious about the son, the 17-year-old son. He's a very interesting figure in that I can understand his petulance and his frustration. He doesn't understand that his father's lecturing comes from care and his want to ensure that his son has a good life. Again, if his father maybe started off as a slave himself, maybe didn't have the freedoms that his son has had, he of course wants his son to maintain that freedom. He wants his son to maybe have the life that he never had. And that requires not pampering him and spoiling him, but ensuring that he knows how to run this farm to continue the legacy, to continue accruing wealth and money and power so that he'll never be a slave. He'll never have to suffer what his father went through. I'm presuming that's if his father was a slave. We don't know. I'm just making that presumption based on the kindness and how willing he is to help and work the fields too, despite the fact that many wouldn't. They would just use the slaves as labor and oversee it, but they wouldn't actually involve themselves. Showing that he cares about this farm, he cares about the people, and he wants to help as much as he can. I just adore this show so much, but feeling like you're being used and manipulated, especially for gain because of who your father is and your father's wealth, it must be frustrating. It must be infuriating. So essentially, we have three boys all struggling, all suffering from different areas, one from Denmark, one from Iceland, and one from the north of England. All of them, regardless of their position, have ended up feeling this sense of loss, this trauma, this struggle. Not so much the 17-year-old in terms of trauma, but he feels that sense of loss in terms of identity. He doesn't know what he wants to do, doesn't know how to be himself, how to establish himself. I do pity him, even though he doesn't quite realize how good he has it in comparison to Einar and Thorfinn, who are both slaves, who have both suffered as children, who have both had no other choice but to do what it takes to survive, to have undergone all of this hardship and suffering, and yet, despite being on opposite sides, despite being potential enemies, if they had met in England, if Thorfinn had stumbled upon his village, they would have been at odds with one another. They are friends now. They are equal. They are not different to one another. And that's what Einar was saying, is that regardless of where they come from, regardless of whether they are English, Danish, Icelandic, they are all the same when you put them together. They all work the same. They're all suffering in their own ways. They're all toiling the fields. None of them are different because they're all humans. And that's what Thors was trying to say, is that the enemy is what we create in our minds. When we draw these boundaries between us and them, when we say that they are different and therefore because they are different they are bad, and I am good because I am from this background, I am superior because of X, Y, and Z, you're drawing distinctions, you're creating these imaginary lines of difference, which aids in this perception of someone as an enemy because they're different to you, they're not the same as you. You're looking at the difference rather than what unites you, what makes you similar, in that you are all human, you all undergo the same feelings, the same experiences in life, you all bleed the same. So that's what Thors is emphasizing, is that war doesn't need to happen. Enemies are not something that we inherently have, they are something that we create ourselves, and that's a mentality that we need to break away from. I love this show. The show is phenomenal, and I can't wait to see more, especially Einar's little crush on the woman in the wagon. They keep referring to this woman, and that makes me curious. Is that the woman in the wagon and she's maybe a slave, but isn't the daughter? But just the fact that she was riding in the cart seemed almost like a privileged position, that maybe she is the daughter, and that the reason she's rejecting people is that she knows that they are wanting to use her to gain power and access to her father's land, to his farm, to his wealth. But I guess we'll see. Maybe Einar has a little relationship with her and they become a thing. I don't know, but it was really cute that he wanted to report them for wrongdoing. And I feel like Thorfinn saying don't report them is because maybe he has done in the past, not necessarily with this master, but maybe with others, and he's found that it really doesn't make a difference. It just means that they act even worse towards them, that they use that as a motivator to make their lives even harder, because as I'd said, they need to distinguish themselves because they are halfway to slaves themselves. They're not free, truly free. They're not fully independent. They are still dependent on the master, on the land, on his kindness and generosity. Essentially, a retainer is dependent on the master for lodging and food and clothing and money. Like, everything they have is from their master, is from the land that they serve. They are retainers of the household, whereas tenant farmers, I believe, rent the land, so they pay a fee to own and farm and toil the land. But again, it's not their land, so they would like give money or the share of the crops in order to continue to live there, to continue to occupy it. But the retainers are fully dependent on the master in the same way that the slaves are. They are no better. They may be free, but without the master, without serving him as a retainer, they would have nothing. They don't have anything. Everything is dependent on the master himself, which is why Aina says that they are halfway to slaves themselves. They are no different to the people that they berate, but they have to make that distinction because they don't like to think that they are equal to the slaves. So therefore they create these power imbalances that we are better. We have to make you feel lesser than because we need to feel like our position is more secure, that we are better than you. But truthfully, they're not. The show gets better and better. I feel like series 2 is going to be an absolutely amazing ride, and I cannot wait to see how this fleshes out. And if we finally see him go home, I hope we do. But I just want to see this like budding friendship between him and Aina come into fruition. I want to see this spark return to our boy. I want to see him start to dream and aspire for more other than this dejected shell of a person. Like, I understand everything he's been through and the trauma and the implications that that can have. But it's just so heartbreaking because this isn't the Thorfinn that we know and love. And again, restraining his anger and keeping it under wraps isn't a bad thing, but the lack of drive and aspiration and his sort of apathetic state in that he's just accepted that this is his way of life now, that there is nothing else for him, is just really hard because this isn't Thorfinn. This isn't who he was as a child. It's not who he was as a young teenager, even though most of the time he was hell-bent on revenge. I guess this could be the show's indication that with nothing else to really aspire for other than revenge, he has found himself quite lost and with no direction. But I'm hoping he does get direction and we start to see the old Thorfinn return. But yeah, I think that's all I want to say for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this react, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm. And until next episode, bye!